This video, I'm going to be sharing with you spontaneous healing and spontaneous manifestation and the 3 things you must have in order to experience that. This video I think will be a game changer for many people and help many people to see that things can change like that. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the truth about spontaneous healing and spontaneous manifestation and the 3 things you need in order to make that happen. They're going to be it's like a 3-step process of what's necessary, like ingredients for allowing that to actually happen. And the truth is, we can change on a dime. Things can change very quickly when we do the things that I'm going to be sharing with you today in this video. And things happen very quickly for me when I look to even my own transformation. Because when it comes to healing, there is a certain understanding of things that have happened in the past. There is some problem, let's say a problem that we are identifying. Now for me, part of that was I believed that I had ADHD. I was told that I had a lot of energy. I remember going into work every day and I'd have people talking about me like, how does he have so much energy? People saying things like, is he on something to be having that much energy? And I remember feeling very guilty, very much like there was something wrong with me. And what happened is I went to a doctor. They said, hey, you have ADHD, you can't focus. Here's some Adderall for it. Adderall made it so I couldn't eat very good. I couldn't sleep very good at night. And for years, I carried around that identity. I carried around that problem, and what happened is like this, I was able to change that once I applied the 3 things that I'm going to be sharing with you today in this video. And within a week or two, literally everything about me, my whole energy was different. I remember going into work and people were asking me what I was doing, why I was so different. And it was because of the things that I'm sharing with you. And there's also, this kind of brings me back a memory as well, because recently, this is actually probably 5-6 months ago, I went to, my buddy Victor Odo was throwing a retreat in Sedona, and I went to a retreat, and there was somebody there that said that they were listening to one of my meditations, and they said that prior to that, they weren't able to walk. They weren't able to walk. They got into a car accident, and they were told by doctors they would never be able to walk again. What happened is she was listening to some of my videos. She found one of my meditations, which was on shifting to a parallel reality, which allows you to let go of your old story to be a new version of you. And what happened is she said she listened to that meditation, and she said that now she is able to walk because of having that kind of experience. She started to rewire her own belief system, her own story, and she claims that meditation was what did it for her. And it was funny, the meditation literally said, walk into a parallel reality on the thumbnail. Walk, and even the title of it was something to walk with the parallel reality, which was kind of ironic because she couldn't walk before. So it was almost like maybe there's some type of visualization there. I'm not sure. But what that made me realize is that things can change on a dime, and something as much as somebody being told you're never going to walk again, somebody can walk again based on their own belief and their own story that they tell themselves. It just shows me that there's so much more to reality. There's so much more to what and who we think we are, and things can really happen that fast if we give ourselves permission to. Now what I'll do as well is that walk into a parallel reality meditation. I'm going to link that below so that you can listen to it. If you listen for 21 days, I think it'll change your life, and really it could happen in a day or two. It's something that when you listen to, you start to tell yourself a new story. You start to let go of an old identity, and and that starts to happen. Now same thing with spontaneous manifestation. There are certain parts to this whole process that are necessary. And when you see that something like that can happen, that's when things can change in a very powerful way. There are times in my own life where there was something that I wanted to happen, and what I did is I just gave it up. I just allowed it to happen, and then nonetheless it happened. But there was one component of it, the first part of this process. Say there's 3 things you need in order to make this process happen, in order to allow it to happen. Not necessarily make it happen from the ego's point of view, but the first thing you need for this to happen is belief, is believing it can happen, believing that it's possible for you. And a lot of times what I do is I like to share stories with people to help them more aware that they can change like this. So for example, when it comes to healing, when it comes to manifestation, there are people on the world that have been through this type of scenario. Let me show you what is possible here with spontaneous healing, because first off, you need the belief. So for example, there are people that have what is called multiple personality disorder, which means they have one personality, and then a moment or two later, or however period of time later, maybe 20, 30 minutes later, they'll shift into a completely different personality. One personality may go by a certain name. One personality will have a certain thought structure. Then what happens is they shift to a different personality with a different thought structure, with a different identity, different name, and that's called multiple personality disorder. Now, here is what they have found. Somebody may be in a certain identity. Let's say their identity is Jim. They may then shift to Carl. Jim may not have cancer. Jim may be perfectly healthy. Jim might smoke cigarettes. Then Jim switches to Carl. Carl may have cancer, may have some type of negative disease, and have a completely different thought process, completely different neurosynaptic connection wiring in the brain. And within a moment of shifting from one personality to a different personality, it's literally a completely different person. If you were to measure and test the cells of the Jim character, Jim would not have cancer. 2 minutes later, he has it. You see, this is how quickly things can change. Now, on the other side of that can happen the other way around. So the person could be, obviously if you switch it around, then somebody does have cancer, then a moment later they don't. So think about how quickly that can happen. You see, simply knowing something like that can show you what is possible and how quickly you can change. And that meditation I did, where someone was able to start walking again, what happened was there was probably a high level of belief there. I said, your life will change in that video, and because of that belief, she then went into it and then was able to change. You see, belief is the number one thing you need. If you try to get someone, and someone doesn't believe it is possible, then they won't experience that. You have to believe and know that it is possible. And showing other times of times when that's happened for other people makes you know that this is something that can happen for you too. So you see, first off, it is possible for you to spontaneously go into healing. It is possible for you to instantly manifest something. What degree of believability do you have for that? You see, I remember I went to see Bashar not too long ago, maybe like 5 or 6 months ago, and I asked Bashar, I said, why was it that people in the book Autobiography of a Yogi, which is about Paramahansa Yogananda, his journey through enlightenment, he met different enlightened gurus, why was it that Paramahansa Yogananda met these enlightened gurus that could instantly manifest? And he said that they knew the truth about reality. The truth about reality is an illusion. So because of that, they were able to manipulate things in a different way because they're coming at it from a higher level of consciousness. You see, there's much more flexible than we even can understand. And if we hold on to these, it's not so much even about attaining a belief system that you can be healed. It's more so just letting go of the belief that you're not already healed. In the same way, it wasn't so much that those enlightened gurus had to believe that they could change reality using a certain type of modality. It was more so what they did is they just let go of their belief in the rigidity and solidity of reality that they were able to just be and change because they recognized the truth of it being an illusion. So belief is the number one thing to this whole process. You must first off believe that you can be healed. When you talk about a healer, what does a healer do? A healer is someone that's able to view someone else in a certain way and is able to emit off a certain frequency that other person can match. And if they match that frequency, then they go through a healing process. So it's simply about the energy dynamics that are involved. And the belief, it's like they hold them in their mind that they're healed. The other person can match that through the energy transference and then be healed. You see? But the person has to be ready for it and the person has to be willing. Some people aren't ready to give up their certain causes. Some people aren't ready to give up their belief that they aren't healed. Because some people get payoffs from not being healed. As crazy as that sounds, some people aren't aware of it, but someone may get a payoff from the attention they get from being sick and not even aware that they like that and afraid that if they were to let that go subconsciously, they wouldn't have people that love them, that go to the hospital, that see them, that take care of them. You see, so belief is the number one thing. Now, the second thing that you must have in order to go through this process is a willingness to let go and release. Let go and release. So for me, What I did is I realized that I had ADHD. I was labeled as having ADHD. And what I did is I started observing my thoughts. I started allowing them to be there. And as I started to observe my thoughts, I started to relate to them in a different way. And I saw then, I was able to look at my past to see at a certain point, I believed that I had ADHD because everyone else told me there was something wrong with my energy. I just had so much energy. So what I was able then to do is to see it, to acknowledge it. 90% of transformation is becoming aware of the story you tell yourself, becoming aware of the current beliefs you have. Then recognizing it and deciding that you are going to let it go, that it no longer serves you. I realized I had a story that I have ADHD. This is what other people labeled me as. Many other people would agree with that too. They'd say, well, if you got chemically, if you're able to measure it, you would see that you do have that. But you see, that's just an agreement, agreeing to it. Instead, what I was able to do is to let go of that old meaning. Everything in reality is fundamentally, has no meaning other than the meaning we give it. So what I did is instead of that, I looked at myself and I thought to myself, I just have a lot of energy. I reframed it. I let go of the old meaning and I started to reframe it. And I said, I just have a lot of energy. I just need to balance myself out by walking barefoot in grass every day, by meditating in the morning, meditating at night. From that point going forward, my whole entire life began to change. And it was because I became aware of the story, became aware of the point in my past when I agreed that that's the way I am. And then I was able to see it for what it was. It was just an agreement. And I was able to let it go. So the story we tell ourselves is similar to the beliefs we have. And the time in the past, somebody may have told you, you have this. You have this condition. This is what the doctor said. And you give them a high level of credibility. Because you believe that that is the system that you need. To go to a doctor and a doctor tells you what you have. But you see, you can either agree or not agree to it. When I look at, I haven't been sick in 5 years. Because I don't believe that I do. I don't believe I get sick. So anybody listening to this, you too can have that belief. I remember I was listening to actually somebody that doesn't really spread the spiritual information as much. He's an awesome guy. His name's Gary Vaynerchuk. He has a book, and you've probably seen him on social media before. Talks a lot about working hard and grinding. In one of his books, he talked about how one day he just decided on a plane. He read that there was some scientific study, the belief of getting sick, and he said he just decided he'd never get sick again. He said he hasn't been sick since. I read that and I was like, I could do the same thing. So I just simply don't believe that I do, and therefore I don't. What is your belief? What are you buying into? So the first thing you need is the belief that it can happen for you, the belief that you are healthy, the belief that you're whole and complete. The second thing is to let go and release of the old. Even the negative payoff, the positive payoff you may think you're getting of attention from other people or whatever it is. But for any of this to happen, you must let go of the certainty as well. For you to really create something magical in your life, to create a miracle in your life, you need the belief and you need to do new things, get into uncertainty. Uncertainty is where magic can happen. If you do the same things every day, you're going to get the same results you've always got. But if you do something new, you get into the level of uncertainty, then anything can happen. So letting go of the certainty and start to embrace uncertainty. And doing this will allow you to manifest instantly, much quicker, because you're not in the solid belief system, the solid structure of what you had before. But understand that this process is really about you becoming more aware of who you are. You are an infinite spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And you are changing every moment, every moment, every moment, every moment. You're a new you. You're a new you. You're a new you. What story are you telling yourself? What story are you telling yourself? What story are you telling yourself? Because that story will play itself out over and over and over again. So the key is letting go of the old story, knowing, recognizing that you're new in every moment. And the more that you become aware of that, the more that then your life begins to change. So for me, I look at all the times my life has changed. And I observed that I used to have ADHD. I simply let go of the label and I no longer related to it. Saw it as something that has served me. I let it go. No longer do I have to deal with that. When I was doing that, I also felt like I had to, because of the side effects of not eating very much and not being able to sleep much, I would then smoke weed, and I did that for years. And then all of a sudden I just decided I no longer relate to it. I no longer identify with it. I let it go. Let go of the belief that I even needed it. Changed everything. That's why the third step is you seeing yourself in your new self-image. You seeing yourself as healed. You seeing yourself as not having a problem. I saw myself as not having ADHD, as just having a lot of energy that I would balance out. I saw myself as somebody that didn't smoke anymore, that was able just to feel high all the time naturally. I was able to then wire that in. Have a vision of what it's like for you to be healed. Have a vision for what it's like for you to be who you really are, void of any problem. Because that problem was something you agreed to in the past at a subconscious level. Somebody said it. You said, oh, yep, this is the way reality is. Somebody told you, Aaron, you have a lot of energy. There's a problem. And I thought, oh, yeah, you're right. And then they'd say something about ADHD. And I'm like, oh, let me check up on that. And then I found more and more people that were there to confirm that reality. But then when I disassociated from it and saw it as something I didn't choose any longer, it then went away. Remember, every moment you're choosing, every moment you're choosing, every moment you're choosing. You're either choosing from autopilot or you're choosing from awareness. Every moment it's new. Every moment it's new. Every moment it's new. So what are you creating right now in the present moment? You see, the truth is all transformation happens in an instant. Just sometimes we tell ourselves a story that we have to build things up. We need different permission slips, and then eventually we just give ourselves permission to shift. We give ourselves permission to let go. We give ourselves permission to be. Can you just give yourself permission right now? Can you just give yourself permission to view yourself as whole and complete? There's nothing wrong. There's no problem. You're already whole and complete. Anything you want to create in your life, you can do instantaneously when you let go of the old belief structure, when you let go of the old story, and you just start giving yourself permission to be in that vibrational frequency of being healed. Realize that the old act is an act anyways. Be as if. Something I've been saying a lot lately. I normally say act as if, but you being sick, that's an act. You're 100% whole and complete. You having a problem, that's an act. You may have been putting it on for years. It's not who you really are. The real you, the eternal spiritual be, you is whole and complete already. And because of that, you can start to really embody that part of you. You can start to realize and see yourself as whole and complete. See yourself as already living in that reality you want. That's why a lot of times I talk about kind of like realizing any reality you can imagine already exists, and you can tap into it right now. Tap into it vibrationally. Be as if that version of you. Realize it as more authentic to who you are. More in alignment with the worthiness that you can feel. So for this process, those 3 steps. First off, believe it's possible. First off, believe and know that your beliefs create your reality. The story you tell yourself consistently is running your life, whether you're aware of it or not. Secondly, be willing to let go of it. See the positive payoff you may have thought you were getting, whether that's more attention for being sick, whether it's something where you can see that people really love you, whatever it is. Be aware if there's any negative payoff or any positive payoff that you think is there, even at a subconscious level, and maybe it's not, but just be aware of it and be willing to let it go. Be willing to let go of the story. Be willing to let it go. And then thirdly, see yourself as healed. Be as that version of you. Simply know reality is a reflection. And if you want that reflection to change, first off, change how you relate to it. That's the key to all transformation. So for that, what I was mentioning before, that walk into a parallel reality meditation, I will link that below as long as another parallel reality meditation I have, one of the most powerful ones that I have. You'll see them both linked in the description box below. Listen to either one of them for 21 days. Watch how your life begins to change. Also, if you haven't already, like this video if you want me to make more videos on esoteric topics like this, and let me know. Also, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell the way that YouTube does it now. You actually have to hit that button to see the daily vids. Got a lot more good stuff coming. Other than that, as always, peace, much love, and namaste.